Now, I want to introduce you to a wonderful, wonderful lady that I met about a year ago now. And when I met this lady, she completely bowled me over with her personality, with her character, and with her story. And I've had the pleasure of hearing many of her stories, which are completely astounding and wonderful. And that's why the wonderful Georgia is speaking today, and her talk is called Slipping and Sliding on the Glass Ceiling. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Georgia Varjas.
Sorry, darling. Boom, drop the mic. Yes? I have a black and white photo of me as a baby, bouncing up and down in my playpen. I'm gurgling a tune. I've got a satisfied expression on my face, and my nappy's full. Like, really full. My mother most definitely heard me, understood me, and believed me. It was the beginning of my deep female wisdom that to be heard, understood, and believed, you had to make an impact. You had to make an impression. Now, it wasn't always easy to be heard, understood, and believed. Sometimes it didn't work. Sometimes people just didn't understand it. But I learned from these mistakes. I learned to take responsibility and see it as feedback. Now, during my years in the showbiz world, I had to recreate and reinvent myself quite often. Sometimes evolving organically, and sometimes because I kept banging my head on that glass ceiling, I just had to make a difference, had to change. As Carl Jung says to us, we meet ourselves time and time again in 1,000 disguises in our path in life. So I changed my attitude, I changed my appearance, I changed my mindset, and I've been on many stages in quite a few disguises. So I'm going to tell you about a couple of them. So once upon a time in Brixton, and myself and 2 other women, we got up onto this stage, part of a charity show it was, and we did a parody, a mime, of the Andrews Sisters. You might know that song. Drinking rum and Coca-Cola, go down Point Kumana. You know the song? And there we are in our slinky dresses and these big white, blonde bouffant wigs, rather like top hats. And we're doing all that unison dancing, you know. It was hilarious. And then another time at the Hackney Empire in East London, big theatre, I was playing saxophone in the orchestra in the pit, and they said, oh, we need somebody to bang the metal sheet at the back to create a thunderclap. So I said, I'll do it. So I would run through the tunnels of the stage, get to the backstage, wait for my cue, and then shake that piece of metal and run like a lunatic back to my place in the theatre, in the pit. I loved it. I loved those rehearsals, the showtime, that crazy energy, the excitement of entertaining and giving pleasure to others. Because every time you give the best of yourself, whatever you do, you perform authentically. Every time you give the best of yourself, you perform authentically. Now, I'm a self-taught musician. My first saxophone fell off the back of a lorry. And in the beginning, I used to play in front of a wardrobe full of clothes to kill this horrible sound I made. Honestly, I was like a dying sea cow. Hi there, everybody. I was really horrid sound, you know. But as my confidence and my ability grew, and I developed a sassy and sultry sound, I would go out for auditions. So I'd knock the door, and this guy would answer, because it was always a guy. And he'd go, oh no, not a girl saxophone player. And I go, why not? No, we want somebody aggressive. So I'd get into battle position, my elbows out, and I'd say, I can be aggressive. So I would go in and I would play good and strong and aggressive. And then a week later, they would fire me. Why? I was too aggressive. Now, sometimes there were bands, there were guys who liked that aggressive edge. But then they would say, could you be a bit sexy with it as well? So I was like confused. Being aggressive turned them on and turned them off. So it was like, dear Karma, I have a list of people you missed. But it really was on tour that life as a female musician was really tough. Long hours, long journeys, testosterone-filled vans. It was very hard to be sexy. It was very unhealthy. And, I worked it out that out of a week touring, whether it was the UK or Europe, or in the US even longer, I was probably on stage about 6 hours. It was tough. And, I've had smoke blown down the bell of my saxophone while playing a solo. I've had beer thrown at me while on stage. I've had numerous comments about my body shape, parts. Honestly, I could fill a book of insults, a list of all those insults that I was called during my time on stage. In fact, my next book is going to be called Me and 9 Men in a Van. So I said to myself, right, Carl Jung was right. 1,000 disguises, I've got at least 900 left. What am I going to do now? So I said, okay, I'm going to get together with my dream team. I'm going to build my dream team. I mean, if Batman can do it, so can I. So I found myself a trumpet player and a trumpet player, and we went out as a female horn section. And we get the opportunity to have an audition with a big famous singer. I don't do kiss and tell, but I'm telling you, he was big. So we go along there, and the first thing he says is, can you wear this? and can you put on these high heels? So I said, if I wear high heels and I'm playing an instrument, my balance will go, my breathing will change, and if I'm wearing this, when I start rocking it, everything will fall out. I'm not, Now check this. He was insulted that we wouldn't dress up like friggin' bimbos, So he says, get out. Anyway, you're too fat, you're too old, and you're too ugly. Don't ask me which one I was probably all of them. So we watched the telly the following week. It was the Top of the Pops show, right? It was big, it was good publicity for us. Promotion, We were curious to know who would replace us. You can guess, can't you? 3 older guys with beards, well-proportioned, and I guarantee they were not wearing lingerie or high heels. Well, I was disappointed. No, I was pissed, actually, because I was becoming preoccupied with my competence instead of focusing on my confidence. And every time I looked up, I saw all these musicians without tits going straight through the glass ceiling. It was depressing. Fears and doubts started to creep in, and I was beginning to feel I wasn't competent, I wasn't good enough, I'd never be able to be like them. Did I have to grow a beard? What did I have to do to break through? My mantra was swaying. Get out, move on, quit. You'll never succeed. It's no good. And then I remembered those 4 fabulous sisters, consistent, resistant, persistent, and insistent. You know them? So I said, okay, new disguise. So I went back into writing, and I wrote and produced 2 plays for theatre, made my money back. I wrote and published 2 books. But every time I looked up, that ceiling got thicker and lower and lower and thicker. And so you know what I did? I went out and met myself a glazier. I found myself a handsome glass man. And he said to me that the best way to shift a heavy, thick glass ceiling is to knock down the walls that support it. So, ladies, knock down them fucking walls, right? So, you know, I was taught as a child that if you can't get in the front door, you try the back door. And if you can't get in that back door, you go around the side. And then if that's blocked, well, you go up the chimney. And if that's sealed, well, you build yourself a frigging tunnel. Because there's always a way. There's always another way to ask for something or to say something. There's always another day, another page, and definitely another stage. And the world is our stage. It is all about our performance on that stage. And we have our 15 minutes of fame. Hi, this is mine. I mean, you know, if you had that opportunity to sit down with Oprah and get your 15 minutes of fame, or Simon Sinek, who would you choose to be interviewed by if you had 15 minutes of fame? Go on, tell us, who would you be interviewed if you had 15 minutes of fame? Come on, shout. Oprah, okay. Oprah, yeah. Malala. One of the guys.
Eric Cantona.
Now, wouldn't that be amazing? Wouldn't that be a fabulous experience to be on a chat show with Oprah, with Eric, with Malala? And wouldn't you just perform your tits off? Or your balls, you know? Wouldn't you just... Both of them, right? Wouldn't you just give your best? Of course. 15 minutes of fame, of course you would. And this is it, is that we all want to, women and men, we all want to be clearly heard, profoundly understood, and most definitely believed. And, you know, women and girls have so many fantastic stories to tell, so many inventions, ideas, experiences. And yet, we don't get to express ourselves. Sometimes it's because it's illegal. It could even be dangerous, or it's prohibited. But we just don't do it. And what is it with us women that we overthink, overanalyze, and overlabel everything? The guys are going, yeah. I mean, why don't we just ease up on ourselves a little bit and take that in our hands? You know, after all those years of slipping and sliding all over that glass ceiling, I have learned that you can learn to be confident. You can learn to be courageous. You can learn to make smart decisions. And I know this not just from my own development, from the women I work with as well. I see it. You see it around you. We're all learning and developing our confidence and our courage. And we have 2 really fantastic instruments to take us through our life, our business, and our relationships. We all have them. Beautiful, effective, powerful. Our voice and a pen. We all have that. So I'm going to leave you with a quote by Anon. So you know it was a woman. The tongue has no bones, but it is strong enough to break a heart. Be careful with your words. Take care of your language.